You're Perp back with another video, and I just finished up the first season of Bloodhounds. It's a brand new Korean action drama, whatever you want to call it, on Netflix. This is pretty much about um, this main character that we have right here, Gung Woo, and his friend Woo Jin. They both kind of meet during this kind of boxing tournament and whatnot. They're both Marines, and this story was very fascinating to me. There's a lot of cliche, narratives throughout, but what really holds this up as far as why you should watch it is the action, the hand-to-hand combat that they have in it. But I like how these two characters meet each other, where Woo Jin doesn't even have no hard feelings over taking a loss to Gung Woo, and this is where their friendship kind of sparks, and you see them just become brothers at this point. They're both Marines. Woo Jin is very more eccentric, and Gung Woo, he's more like humble, very quiet at times. Really wants to look out for his mom. But what ends up happening is this takes place during like COVID, so obviously you have a lot of people scamming, and what ends up happening is Gung Woo's mom ends up signing a terrible contract that nobody reads the fine print, and this is where we get introduced to the main villain, or the big bad of the series, Mr. Kim. Just to kind of make it short, he pretty much goes around finessing people for their money and their property. Also, he could build this whole casino so you can kind of just continue to do what he's doing. And one thing leads to another, where now his mom finds herself in more trouble and trying to figure out how they're going to solve this problem. And this is where we get introduced to Mr. Choi, where he comes in as a person that wants to help out people that are less fortunate, give them money, and he's a little bit less extreme than Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim is very much aggressive and wants his money ASAP. So they end up working for this guy, and not knowing that Mr. Choi and Mr. Kim have a history or a past that resurface, and now Mr. Choi has no other choice but to kind of get involved when there's money involved. It just pretty much becomes this like kind of cat and mouse going back and forth, where Mr. Kim tries to stop anybody that's associated with Mr. Choi, because he's the one that kind of taught him how to do everything. And Mr. Choi, he regrets this because he could have nipped this in the butt a long time ago, and he ends up in a wheelchair. They show all this stuff in the past, and I like those flashbacks that they have, but they get pretty much hired to be bodyguards, but then they become more than bodyguards, like I said, because there's this whole cat and mouse thing of, all right, let's try to get this money back, and let's try to help these people not have to worry about Mr. Kim, because like I said, Mr. Kim and the lackeys that he have are very insane, and there's a lot of interesting kind of finesses that he does, and he's very well connected with different people, so he's able to kind of be one step ahead of everybody. And it gets very brutal. There's a lot of kills in this that are very brutal, and people from Mr. Choi's past, like his left and right hand people that are left from that kind of era, come to help him, but then put their whole family and their life at stake by doing so. And it really is intriguing and engaging when you see like the conflict and stuff, especially when you get to like something like episode 6, where you see Mr. Choi end up dying. And now it's just like, what do we do after taking this big loss? And also his granddaughter, we're just gonna call her Juju, because that's what Woo Jin calls her. And she's the one that kind of kicks things off, because she was, in the beginning, I didn't know how to really feel about her character, but she starts to kind of warm up, and then you find out that she's actually an orphan, and Mr. Choi is not her real grandfather. It's just somebody that kind of she's was pretty much like adopted into the family, and you see that kind of whole relationship. And I really like how her and Gung-woo and Woo-jin end up becoming like a family. You know, like those are a lot of like high moments in the series where we see them kind of bonding, and she kind of letting her guard down and not being so aggressive. Because when you first get to meet her, you don't know how to feel about her character because she's so really defensive, but then she kind of puts her defense down. And there's a lot of humor in this, surprisingly, with what was going on and stuff like that. But, you know, I will say one nitpick. I feel like they should have ended this with episode 6, because there's a lot of things with episodes 7 and 8 that you could have worked into a season 2. If there's going to be a season 2, I doubt it. Just the way it ended, it seemed like, yeah, they wrapped everything up that they needed to wrap up. Ended up, you know, getting the money that they needed to get. But who knows? It could go either way. I'm okay with it just being like a 1-season thing. The action is what really carries this series for me, because there's a lot of really dope hand-to-hand, clean combat. Like I said, these two are boxers, so, you know, they're dipping and weaving. Like, Woo-jin is fucking phenomenal in this as well. He's kind of like the heart of the whole entire story. He's got the most charisma, makes characters laugh. Gung-woo, he's got the nicest hands, bro. But like, I just really like the fight scenes, because usually you have fight scenes that are very shaky cam. You can't really see what's going on, but here it's very clean, well choreographed. The story, I think, is good enough. It's not doing anything game-changing or anything like that, in my opinion. But what really brings this whole thing together is just the choreography within the fight scenes itself. And also just the characters. You know, the characters really help drive the story more than everything, because you really kind of get behind Gung-woo and you understand why he's so humble, and he's a very likable main character. And Woo-jin is a good person to have by his side, because there's times where, you know, Gung-woo is trying to live this like righteous kind of path, not wanting to become a bloodhound, but ends up becoming a bloodhound anyways. And I'm curious to see if they're going to do a season 2. If not, I'm okay. Like I said, they pretty much wrapped up everything they needed to wrap up in this first season, so it's really not necessary. But anyways, if you have seen this, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is just my quick little take of season 1 of Bloodhounds on Netflix. Definitely go check it out if you haven't. Till next time, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.